Hey everyone, it is 6:46 p.m. on this Wednesday, December 17th, 2025. We are a week away from Christmas Eve and 8 days away from Christmas, and it is partly cloudy under a moon sky, if you will, clear, by the way, almost, and 52 degrees. Before we get started here, I'd like to ask you to do me a favor, as I always do, and that's like the video, ring the bell for notifications, subscribe to the channel, and share the video. Also, guys, if you can, it'd be greatly appreciated for you to click on the links in the description to find my content elsewhere outside of YouTube. You can find me at all your favorite audio and video podcast affiliates like iTunes, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and to an extent, SiriusXM. You can also find me, ladies and gentlemen, at other video outlets like Rumble.com, Vimeo.com, Odyssey, and Dailymotion. I'm also on DeviantArt at BVW1979. Inkbunny.net at BWRoses, that's INKBUNNY, and at Affinity at BW1979. I'm also on Patreon. I have that up and going as best I can. Got to adjust a few things, fix a few things here and there, but we're pretty much up and running, so if you want to check that out and support it, we greatly appreciate it. Also, guys, I have a Venmo and a Cash App. If you want to help donate right away there, that helps me out during the Christmas season. It'd be greatly appreciated if you can. Also, guys, I have a couple of online stores. I have a Fourth Wall store, link is at the top in the description for that. And I have a Teespring store, link is at the bottom for that. Also, ladies and gentlemen, I have a couple of affiliated stores that will be listed. So if you want to click on those to check out items they might have for this Christmas season, for gift giving and all that, go ahead and do so. It helps you out, it helps me out via commissions, and it helps the store out, believe it or not, whether you like that or not. Also, you can follow me on social media at TikTok, Twitter, aka X.com, that is, and Blue Sky. You can check me out there as well. Also, guys, during this video premiere, the live chat will be open, so if you want to chime on in, give your thoughts there on the live chat to the topic at hand, which has gotten everybody talking, believe it or not. Go ahead and do so. Also, super chats will be open during the live chat, so if you feel like you want to be generous and everything, whatever you can donate in the super chats, you can get down on in there if you would like. Also, guys, the super thanks option will be open after the video is done premiering. So if you can't get here in time for the video premiere, then the super thanks option, which is a little hard with the dollar sign, will be available. Also, comments will be open on both occasions. But with that said, let's get into the topic at hand. And it is a big topic, if you will. It's a very big topic. Basically, if you woke up this morning and you checked your social media, you checked YouTube and whatnot, you checked the news and all that through Google or Bing or Yahoo, what have you, you may have noticed that one of the big news items that got talked about is the fact that when it comes to award season, in the next 3 years, believe it or not, 3.5 years actually, in the next 3.5 years, award season is going to be going streaming, if you will. It's going to go streaming. Now, what that means basically is it was announced today that the Academy, basically the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Science, you know, the Oscars, if you will, they basically made a deal that starting in 2029, that's right, in 3.5 years, in 2029, that the Oscars, the Academy Awards themselves, starting with the 101st edition, will be broadcast exclusively, live streamed exclusively on YouTube. And what's interesting about this is you don't have to pay for YouTube TV or YouTube Premium to get it, because it will be all free even on regular YouTube. Now, what's interesting about this is ending a long-standard partnership with ABC, because ABC has had the Oscars since 1976. Yeah, basically when my older sister was 1 year old. But yeah, they've had it since then, since 1976. Around, well, actually my sister was becoming 1 year old. I think she was like, I don't know, let's see, August, September, October, November, December. Let me see, wait a minute. August, September, October, November, December. She was January, February, March. She was about, I would say, 7, almost 8 months old, if you will. But anyway, point being, since around that time, since 1976, they've had a partnership with ABC. Well, that partnership comes to an end after the 100th edition in 2028 of the Oscars. That's right. ABC is going to be able to broadcast the rest of the telecast of the Oscars, 2026, 2027, and 2028, and that's it. It's all over. And what this means, basically, is in 2029, the Oscars will be heading straight to YouTube. And like I said, the catch, which some would look at as a positive, is you don't have to pay for any of the premium stuff. You don't have to pay for YouTube Premium, the ad-free edition of YouTube. You don't have to pay for YouTube TV. It'll be available to everybody. But that's not all. I'm sure if you've read the articles, and I have one up right now, I'm bringing one up, I should say, right now, that talks about it. If you read any of the articles that are out there, and there's a lot of articles from the Hollywood Reporter to New York Times to The Ringer to Deadline, Entertainment Weekly, but we're going to go with the Hollywood Reporter, which is basically the one, essentially, that's more connected with Hollywood at times than I think anything. But it basically says in highlighted fashion, make sure there's no volume here so I don't get no copyright. Here we go. But it says in highlighted fashion, Oscars bolt from ABC to YouTube starting in 2029. That's the headline the Hollywood Reporter has. It states, and I quote, so I'm going to pause this for a second, there we go. You know how you go on the Hollywood Reporter, they'll have like a video article and everything. In fact, let me close that up, there we go. But anyway, it states, and I quote, the world's highest profile and most watched award show, which has aired on ABC since 1976, will be moving to a streaming-only platform starting as part of a deal that also includes red carpet coverage, the Oscar nominations announcement, the Governor's Awards, and more. So basically, it's going to be the whole shebang. Continuing on. In news that will shock... okay, let me reread that. It says, in news that will shock waves across the entertainment industry, the Oscar ceremony, which has aired on ABC since 1976, will be moving to YouTube starting in 2029 and will be broadcast by the streamer through at least 2033. The Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts, and Science announced on Wednesday. Yeah, that being today. It says the Disney-owned Alphabet Network, that's what they call it, will continue to air the Oscars let me read that. The Disney-owned network, ABC, or they call it the Alphabet Network, will continue to air the Oscars. The world most watched telecast through the 100th edition of the award show in 2028. After that, the ceremony will be available live and for free to over 2 billion people around the world on YouTube and to YouTube TV subscribers in the United States. Okay, continuing on. As part of this newly inked deal, YouTube will broadcast not only the Oscars ceremony itself, which generated $150 million in revenue for the Academy during the fiscal year that ended on June 30th, the vast majority via the TV rights with Disney, but also with a significant amount of related content. Also coming to YouTube, red carpet pre-show and behind-the-scenes in-show content. The Oscar nominations announcement, the Governor's Ball, at which the Academy presents honorary Oscars, and occasionally the Irving G. Thalberg Memorial Award, and the Jean I'm trying to make sure I get this right, guys. Hold on. The Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award, the Oscars Nominees Luncheon, the Student Academy Award Ceremony, the Scientific Technical Award Ceremony, award member and filmmaker interviews, film educated programs, podcasts, and more. The Academy Museum of Motion Picture will also be supported by the Google Arts and Culture Initiative, which will help provide digital access to select exhibitions and programs and help to, let me make sure I get this right and get this volume down for a second. I don't want nothing to get on there. But it says, the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures will be supported by the Google's Arts and Culture Initiative, which will help provide digital access to select exhibitions, programs, and help to digitize some of the more than 52 million items that are part of the Academy collection. Landing the world's highest profile, most watched award show is a big feather in the cap of the deep pocketed YouTube, which is, as the Hollywood Reporter reported in a cover story earlier this year, is intent on becoming the most powerful platform on earth. Neil Mohan, the company's CEO, said in a statement Wednesday, the Oscars are one of our essential culture institutions honoring excellence in storytelling and artistry, partnering with the Academy to bring this celebration of art and entertainment to viewers all over the world will impact a new generation of creativity and film lovers while staying true to the Oscars storied legacy. Okay, so continuing on. Oops, I didn't want to hit that. I don't know why I hit that. Okay, continuing on. It says, the ongoing home of the Oscars issued a statement of its own. ABC, this is what ABC said. ABC, I quote, this is what ABC said in response. It says, quote, ABC has been the proud home to the Oscars for more than half a century. We look forward to the next 3 telecasts, including the show's centennial celebration in 2028, in which the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences continued success. For Disney, this is the article. It says, for Disney, the Oscars have been a key part of sizable portfolio of live events, but also an expensive and depreciating asset. Ratings for the Oscar telecast are a fraction of what they were even just a decade ago. Earlier this year, Disney's window to exclusively negotiate for the Oscars lapsed, in part, sources say, because the company was unwilling to overpay for a property that is not the moneymaker it once was. Plus, there has long been frustration to ABC about the Academy's reluctance to meet it halfway on things like the number of categories presented during the telecast and the overall length of the telecast. It remains to be seen if YouTube will have more success than ABC did at convincing the Academy to monetize the show. Okay, so okay, I'm trying to make sure. This is a long article, guys, so I don't know if I'll read it all, but basically the short end of it is this. Basically the short end of it is this. Essentially, the short end of it, I'm just going to close that down now. I might link the article so you guys can see it, because I have a feeling if I try to copy and paste it into the description of this audio video, it isn't going to fit. And also, I'm kind of limited on time, if you know what I mean. But anyway, to get back on point here, though, essentially, this is a huge deal. This is a huge deal. And what this is kind of looking at as well, because a lot of people look at the fact that YouTube is trying to be as big as Netflix. They're trying to get there. That's what this Neil Mohan, I'm sorry if I pronounced that name wrong. I do apologize. But as CEO of YouTube, Neil, basically, according to a lot of people like Clownfish TV and others that like to theorize and conspire and everything, kind of like, well, I wouldn't say conspire, but have these conspiracy theories and all that. And a lot of us are like that, so am I, but still, though, the channel kind of lives by that. I say that with all due respect, no offense. The channel kind of lives by that. But a lot of people have these conspiracy theories and thoughts and, exaggerations and speculations of what potentially could be and what will happen and stuff like that. And look, they have a right to feel that way, especially after what's happened over the past year. If you believe any of the, I guess you could say the reporting, any of the, the word that goes around about this happening and that happening, if you believe it, or if it's just exaggerated because, again, people want, attention on their channels. Which, again, nowadays you can't really blame them for, but still, point is, it's up to you to whether or not you want to believe it. But basically what this is in the long run, ladies and gentlemen, is, like I said, it's a big deal. It's a big deal because, like I said, people like Clownfish TV, Neon, and Geeky, they feel that what this Neil guy is trying to do with YouTube is make them the next Netflix, or make them as big as Netflix, if not bigger. But here's the deal. Nobody's going to be as big as Netflix. YouTube can try and try and try, and give them credit for trying, no doubt. YouTube Rumble, Dailymotion, Vimeo, Odyssey, Twitch, if you will, any other platform that tries to be the next YouTube, if you will. All of them in one shape, form, or another will try to compete and be that next global phenomenon like Netflix. The only problem is Netflix is so far ahead, believe it or not, they are so far ahead, despite what, the outcome of what's going to happen with the Warner Brothers situation, if you will. They are so far ahead that for anybody thinking that Neil is going to try to get to that level, real quickly, and this is one way of doing it, first of all, they have a right to the theorized opinion. They do. They have a right to that. But they have to be real as well. They have to be reality set, if you will. And the reality is, yeah, this is a big, big deal for YouTube, no doubt. Because YouTube has more access to homes, via not just TV, but other devices than, let's say linear television does, and everything. So they have more access and everything. But the thing is, even though this is a big, big deal, everything that comes with it, it's still not going to be enough to put YouTube at that level of Netflix. Because as the years go by, Netflix is just going to get bigger and bigger. I mean, by this time next year, they will probably be the parent company of Warner Brothers. They will be the parent company of Warner Brothers, and that makes them even bigger portfolio-wise than anybody can imagine. And because of that, YouTube, a lot of people feel that YouTube's trying to get there. YouTube is just going to keep trailing and trailing and trailing. They're going to keep building and building and building to get to that point, but the more they build, the further Netflix gets away. So for those that theorize, conspiracize, if you will, in their opinions, that's what this Neil guy's trying to do, yes, that is true to an extent, but I think this Neil guy, no matter how you look at him, this Neil guy basically has the firm belief that he can try, but it's going to take a long time to get there, and that the only way he's going to get to that point, if that's the goal, is if something happens to Netflix. If Netflix trips on a wire, slips on a banana, and it causes them to go from here to straight down like Wile E. Coyote off a cliff. That would be the only way YouTube would get to that point, if not surpass it. So for anybody that believes that, okay, fine, more power to you. And this is indeed that first step, but it doesn't mean YouTube is going to forget its roots. It's not. Because if they start to forget their roots and prioritize other things over, what brought them to the dance originally over 20 years ago, then there's going to be a backlash, and they know it. Google knows this. Google's the parent company of YouTube, which, by the way, their boss, their CEO, is the boss of Neil. And their CEO, the person that's above Neil, basically is not going to let him, probably, more than likely, not let him, tarnish what, allowed them to buy YouTube, attracted them to buy YouTube. And for all we know, when they bought YouTube, there was probably an agreement put in place that stated that you have to stay true to what brought this platform to the dance. And that's the OG content creators. People like James Rolfe, people like Doug Walker, people like myself, people like Animac, people like, Linkara, Angry Joe, Black Nerd Comedy, Andre Meadows, so on and so forth. These are the people, this is probably what was agreed and put into place for who knows how long and everything when they purchased it. Maybe it's a very long-term binding agreement. We don't know. But if they wanted to basically, destroy YouTube as it is, they would have done it a long time ago, but that's not the case. They are still keeping things, to the roots of what brought YouTube to the dance. And again, remember, Neil Mohan, he has a boss above him at Google that's going to ensure that doesn't happen because of the deal that was put into place when they purchased the platform long ago. Or not that long ago, I should say. So, for those that feel that, this is what Neil wants, remember one thing. It's not just him that made this deal, happen. It's not just him and YouTube that made this deal. He had to pass it by his boss at Google. His boss at Google is the one that said, yeah, go ahead, make the deal happen. Let's bring it here to to our platform. Let's bring it to our portfolio. He had to pass it by him. So people need to understand at the end of the day that the fears and theories and conspiracies you have, and you have a right to those, you have to put those aside and look at reality. Okay? Look at it from a reality standpoint, from a reality lens. That what you fear is going to happen will not happen. It's just all this platform is doing is growing, to basically attract not just more potential content creators to them, but also attract more partners to them. And then maybe in the long run, try to convince those partners that, hey, these people, these content creators, who are the reason that YouTube, is where is what it is today. If you just allow them to use your content briefly in, like, let's say, overviews, editorials, reviews, previews, whatever. If you just let them do that, just, a brief clip here and there, guess what? It gets you attention. It gets eyes on your product because people are talking about it. That day is going to come. If not, it's slowly happening already. But again, people have to understand. They have to understand that this is a big deal. It's a big feather in YouTube's cap, but it doesn't mean the end of YouTube as you know it. You need to be set in reality. You need to look at it from a real life perspective. I mean, let's be honest. Let's be honest. If the shoe is on the other foot and Rumble let's say Rumble.com, which is a platform I'm a part of, but let's say Rumble or Vimeo, let's say the shoe is on the other foot and Rumble or Vimeo is in the position that YouTube's in, do you not think if they had the opportunity, they'd do the same thing? Of course they would. Of course they would. And then what would you say about Rumble and Vimeo? I'm just saying. So we as content creators, we need to basically, in my opinion, we need to, just let this play out and worry about what we're speculating and theorizing on, in the future. Let's let this play out, see what happens, and go from there. And if things do happen in a way that people fear it will, then, in my opinion, then you will have all the justification to come out and say, hey, I told you so. And again, this is just my opinion. Everybody has a right to their opinion. They have a right to their opinion of not liking this, not liking what YouTube or Google or anybody else has been doing. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, we don't know what happens behind the scenes. We can only speculate and theorize, okay? We can only speculate and theorize as to what's going on and give our opinions. And yes, sometimes our opinions are based on experience, but we just got to give it, that's all we have to give is our opinions and our theorizing. That's it. We can't just, say it like it's gospel. And if there's one thing I respect about Clownfish TV is, yeah, they will try to make it sound like it's gospel, but at the end of the day, they also acknowledge through the video that this is their opinions, that they're basing their opinions off experience, and that this is how they see it potentially happening, but they could be wrong. It's just a theorizing opinion that they have. That's all. The same with WDW Pro, if you will. The same with Midnight's Edge, and so on. These people, like Marvin the Movie Monster, and so on, these people have opinions that they're theorizing on, and those opinions are just, speculating on what they think could happen, but they're not really sure. And that's about it. So yes, you could say that this is just the start of, YouTube wanting to go Hollywood and be as big as Netflix. That's fine. More power to you for having that opinion. But, like I said earlier, at the end of the day, YouTube is never going to be as big as Netflix. Because the thing is, like I said, the bigger YouTube grows, Netflix is going to grow even bigger. The closer YouTube tries to get to Netflix, the further Netflix is going to get away. So people need to understand that. They need to understand that and not make that comparison yet. Unless, like I said, a day comes that Netflix slips onto the banana peel and it allows the likes of YouTube to just take off like it's nobody's business. But to me, this is a big deal. And honestly, I'm not trying to kiss up here. I think it's a great deal because honestly, it's like Clownfish TV, I think, has said. No, but not everyone across the globe is able to access the Oscars, if you will, due to regional, cutoff, due to regional locks or whatever. Not everybody knows about it, and if they do, it comes on way too late for them to watch if they're going to be broadcast live. So with YouTube, the benefit, and this being a good thing, with YouTube, the benefit is basically not only will this be broadcast live via streaming, but people can re-watch it later on. That's unless, of course, YouTube, the Academy, the Oscars, if you will, decides to pull what TNA did. And if you don't know what I mean, TNA for a brief period about a couple months ago started simulcasting their shows on YouTube for free. It used to be just for members, but then they said, oh, let's just give it to everybody. They would simulcast it for free, the entire broadcast. But then, after the live stream was done, they, I think, would put it into private mode or something, and then they would basically edit out each and every individual clip and match to be seen on its own, so that way they can not only give people the entire show, but in kind of like chapter form, clip form, if you will, but also drive more traffic and revenue to their channel. And the Academy, they could do the same thing. They could do something very similar, or more than likely, they'll just broadcast it live and then leave it like that. They'll just leave the Academy Awards, in its entirety like that on YouTube for anybody to watch across the globe, here in the States, in England, in Mexico, in South Africa, you name it. Allow them to watch it, at any time they want, stop and pause it, and then resume it where they left off. That is a benefit that right now is not afforded through ABC. It's not. Yeah, the thing can go on demand for a while afterwards, but it's not afforded. The only way you can be able to watch it when you want to watch it or catch up with what you didn't see originally is if you DVR it and not delete it, or you basically, if you have something like a DVD recorder or a Blu-ray recorder or a capture device, that's the only other way you get it. And that's the only other way you'd be able to watch it when you want to watch it. So, yeah, this is actually a good move, whether people like it or not. But again, like I said, let's not basically, again, hold on guys, phone's ringing, hold on. Alright, sorry about that, but like I said, this is a big deal because, again, that's the one, like I was saying, that's the one disadvantage that ABC has, and the only way, like I was saying before the phone rang, the only way I said that you could probably catch it when you want to catch it, watch it when you want to watch it, is through DVR, and then either through either through DVD recording or Blu-ray recording or a capture device. That's it. And one of the things I would do, sometimes I did this with, the final 2 seasons, actually the final 3 seasons of My Little Pony. Well, actually not the final 3, but it's actually the final 2, because those 2 never went on to DVD officially. I don't know why. But the one thing I did with the final 2 seasons of Friendship is Magic, especially if I was working, is I would DVR. I would DVR all the episodes, all the new episodes, make sure it was listed as new, and then later on, I would, when I get the opportunity, either on the Sunday I was off or a Monday I was off or whatever, I would record those episodes onto DVD so I could have them and I could watch them at any time I want. And that to me is probably one option that people like myself, oh, excuse me there, I just drank some Coca-Cola, I do apologize. But that's one thing a lot of people like myself could potentially do if we had some kind of recording device, capture device, whatever, connected to our television. We could potentially record. We could potentially record our DVR recordings of the ABC broadcast of the Oscars, the Academy Awards. But with YouTube, that's not going to be necessary because, again, unless they do what TNA did before, like I was mentioning, that's chop things up, we'll be able to watch the live stream broadcast. If we don't even if we don't catch it live, we'll be able to watch it whenever we want. And there are methods. There are methods to download it as well. In fact, one thing about premium, if you will, YouTube Premium, is you can actually download the videos if you want to do it that way, or if you feel like you can, or if you feel, I'm trying to find the right words to say before I get tongue-tied here, or if you feel confident enough, is what I'm trying to say, you can go and Google or search for a safe, and there are some safe ones, YouTube video downloaders, if you will, downloading sites that allow you to download the video for free. And all you have to do is copy and paste the link into that bar, into that URL bar, if you will, and then hopefully, without any issue, you'll be able to download. It'll give you the option as to like what resolution you want to download in, and maybe even what format, like MP4, MPG, or whatever. And you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to do that, and there you go. You'll be able to get the Oscars like that. And if you're able to, you might be able to burn it to a Blu-ray or DVD disc. So there's going to be a lot of options, coming out of this in the future. I mean, even more options. I guarantee you, when we hit 2029, and this all takes place officially, I guarantee you there's going to be there's going to be much more advancement, many more advancements, if you will, in the product. In the product of technology is what I'm trying to say, and the product of YouTube. There's going to be a lot of more advancements at the time, or at that time I should say, there's going to be a lot more advancements at that time, to where basically, physical media is still going to be around, let's be honest. No matter how many times people say physical media is dying, it's going to go away, it's still going to be around. And many people are going to have ways of recording onto physical media, and this is going to be one of those ways. The advancement of technology through the next 3 years is going to provide that way. Whether people want to admit to that or not, it's going to provide that way. But overall, like I said, this is a huge deal. It's a huge deal. And speaking of which, like I said, finding, safe areas to, copy and paste, copy the link and then paste it onto a URL bar and, basically get a video out of it or something. You can also get an MP3 out of it too. So if you don't want to, if you don't want a video of the Oscars, you don't want that, you can get an MP3 file, and because again, those are going to be around still as well. You can get an MP3 file and listen to the Oscars, let's say at work. Like let's say if you're working in a warehouse, or you're doing this or you're doing that, where you're allowed to at least have one earbud or so on you while you're working, then guess what? You'll be able to listen to the Oscars in that manner. Not have to see it, but listen to it, if you know what I mean. And that would be a callback, believe it or not, to what a lot of people, including myself, did back as kids. We would take our tape recorders when we didn't have any other option, and we would record the audio of some of our favorite shows, believe it or not. But anyway, point I'm getting at though, is come 2029, there's going to be a lot of advancements in technology that's going to not only allow what we're able to do now, even more so, but we're going to have more options to do it with ease and a lot quicker, if you know what I mean. And the other thing that makes this a big deal too is because, again, people could be at work, and let's say they don't watch the Oscars live, they could watch it, later on, and they could watch it, in any shape or form. They could watch it on their tablets, they could watch it on their phones, if you will. They could watch it on the television when they get home, you name it. They'll be able to have that opportunity. More so than they can with ABC right now, because sometimes it takes a bit with the, let's say the media player that ABC has to really upload, anything at times when it comes to a show or a special broadcast. And again, like I said, the other advantage is basically you don't have to worry about something not being on demand, for a long time before being taken off, or not being on a certain streaming platform that its parent company that's that's allowing their channel, the network, to broadcast you. You don't have to worry whether or not if it's going to be on there or it isn't. I mean, it will be through Hulu. There's no doubt, but Disney Plus, that's another story. But in the end though, in closing guys, I think this is a great move. No matter how you feel about it, I think it's a great move. It's going to benefit a lot of folks, that are interested in this. And who knows? It might be beneficial. And here's the thing too. Who knows how much beneficial it will be to other award ceremonies in the future? Because let's be honest. Let's be honest. Unless you're watching the award ceremony, you hear me out. Unless you're watching the award ceremony on a streaming platform where it's being simulcast, or being showcased live before being shown in a pre-recording a month or two later, like let's say the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. If you're able to watch it live and everything, live and uncut, like let's say on a Disney Plus or on a Netflix or on a Paramount or on an HBO Max, whether it's simulcast or it isn't, guess what? The live streams allow you to get an unedited or watch and listen to an unedited, uncut, unfiltered version of the broadcast of the live feed. Nothing gets cut out. Nothing. Period. Nothing gets cut out. So, for example, when this happens in 2029, who knows what we'll get with the acceptance speeches? Who knows what we'll get performance-wise? With the lyrics and everything. I mean, one thing that they do talk about here is that the reason ABC and the Academy weren't able to come to terms to doing a renegotiation is because either would not meet the other's terms. ABC wouldn't meet some of the terms that was laid out by the Academy. Certain terms and everything, and the Academy wouldn't meet the terms laid out by ABC. And one of the main terms ABC had for the Academy was the length of the show, kind of lessen the categories, the award categories, and the length of the show. They basically wanted them to monetize it, and the Academy didn't do anything. I mean, every year it seems, let's be honest, every year it seems the Academy, the Academy Awards, the Oscars, gets longer and longer. And ABC is getting tired of that, apparently. Well, with YouTube, I don't think we'll have to worry about that because, the question is, what will YouTube do to monetize it? I don't think YouTube's going to care. I think YouTube and Google, they're going to let, because the difference is with a live stream can go as long as they want it to go. They can go for so long, it doesn't matter. I mean, have you not seen some of the live streams on here by some big conglomerates like TNA, WWE, Warner Brothers, Disney? Have you not seen the links of these things? Some of them in the 12-hour, 10-hour, 11-hour, 56-hour range. So I don't think YouTube's going to care. I think basically YouTube's going to say, hey, you want to go for 4, 5 hours, 7 hours? Go ahead. We don't care. Because what it is for them is revenue in their pocket outside of the revenue that the Academy gets in return. So as far as monetizing the length of the show, I don't think YouTube, like I said, is going to care. They're not going to care at all. As a matter of fact, I guarantee you when this 101st Oscars gets broadcast on YouTube on its debut night, not only is it going to go for probably longer than people expect, but like I said, the acceptance speeches and the performances and the presenters talking, get ready to cover your youngsters' ears if you have any at that time. And I'm sure a lot of people will, but get ready to cover your youngsters' ears and all that because, that language I think is going to be very surprising and a lot different, when it comes to, being on YouTube compared to ABC. But again, in closing, I think this is a great move. I know people are indifferent about it, but I like it. But in closing, though, let me know what your thoughts are. How do you feel about this? Do you think there is a positive to it? Do you think there's a negative to it? Let me know. Love to hear your thoughts and everything. And until next time, guys, do me a solid favor before I go, and that's like the video, ring the bell for notifications, subscribe to the channel, and share the video. Also, click on the links in the description to find my content elsewhere and to support me elsewhere outside of YouTube. But guys, give me your thoughts if you haven't already in the live chat. Let me know what your thoughts are on this whole scenario. Do you like the idea? Do you feel it's going to give the Academy more freedom to do what they need to do? What are your thoughts? Let me know. And until then, I am out.